Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. A very warm welcome to the show, and thank you so much for, of course, deciding to stay tuned on the #1 business platform, media platform on the entire continent. This is Smart 24 TV, and we do drive your business 24 hours, 7 days a week. My name is Anthony Sebale, and I am your host today. And of course, the show is proudly brought to you by Altex East Africa. Now, with Altex East Africa, remember, we are bringing treasury bond markets to your sitting room, into your office, into your market, and wherever you are. Remember, Altex now gives you bonds off of your mobile money by, of course, dialing simply *292#. Now, this could be Airtel or MTN or whatsoever line you're using, and you can be able to transfer funds of your mobile money wallet onto the Altex East Africa platform. Now, this will be through a seamless transaction, which of course will give you a range of treasury bonds depending on the maturity periods you are interested in as an investor. We do have those that mature in the long term and those that do mature in the short term, depending on what you are interested in as an investor. Now, markets at Altex open at 15 minutes past 8 a.m. and they do close at 15 minutes past 3 p.m. East African Standard Time. Altex East Africa is telling you you can do something new there under their Zabu initiative. Now, of course, a very warm welcome to the show. We are going to, of course, get to look into what the stocks look like on the 4th day of trading. Remember, this week also in the international market, we are marking a very big day. There, of course, depending on where you are as an investor, you must be interested in the US stocks because they do tell a lot about what happens in the global markets. Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank, definitely on Wednesday was able to raise the rates by 25 basis points, and this of course led to a market rally on the US stock market. If you were following the action there, it was quite fantastic and something we actually had fun, especially those who are interested in the bull market there on the US markets. Also, the cryptocurrencies are returning strongly this week, so cryptocurrency enthusiasts as well are having a pretty good week. And back to the African stock markets as well, there were a few mixed reactions here and there from the markets, especially in East Africa and the rest of Africa. Some were good, some were not so good, as we are going to see on this platform. Remember, this show is all about getting you ahead on what's happening in the different stock markets and where the gains are, where the losers are. But it's up to you entirely as an investor to get knowledge concerning your portfolio, concerning your future investments, and make the right decisions. These markets are really about knowledge and decision making and how much risk you're willing to take. And as a caution, I would like to say you must be very careful while investing. There are losses, and many people have succumbed to depression sometimes while investing and thinking, of course, in the short term. When you come into this market space, you must be thinking long term. Long term is the way to go for treasury bonds. Long term is the way to go for the stock markets. You will be so disappointed if you are a kind of person who invests today and waits for the harvest tomorrow. It's quite not that way when it comes to investing in these markets. Well, let's get to dive into the business here, starting off with the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, our exchange here in Uganda, of course, based in Nakawa Business Park, the Uganda Securities Exchange has 18 companies so far that are listed. Currently, the company has a 20.7 trillion Ugandan shillings market capitalization. Now, on Thursday, that was the 2nd of February, the second day of Feb, we did have 2 equities participate in trading. Quite small number there compared to, of course, the previous day. Now, the day ended, however, with over 3 gainers and 5 losers, which wasn't playing out well for the all-share index which is an index that tracks the aggregate performance of all the listings on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, surprisingly, New Vision Printing Publishing Company came out on top of the gainers here on the market with a total of 3.33% that was added to their stock price and ended the day with 155 Ugandan shillings per share added to their value there. We're going to see the details of this performance here. But still, New Vision is cropping up something. Well, small volumes being traded, but this is the first time the company is appreciating in price this year, but also in a couple of months compared to, of course, what they have been having in the last couple of months on the exchange. Now, Centum Investments as well led with a 1% gain up to 263.44 Ugandan shillings, and East African Breweries Limited appreciated 0.87% up to 5,217.0 Ugandan shillings. Now, on the other losing side, the Jubilee Holdings Limited stock price fell the worst for the day at a 6.05% price depreciation, down to 5,402 Ugandan shillings, and Equity Bank Limited at a 2.25% depreciation fell to 1,302.40 Ugandan shillings. Now, the Nation Media Group also fell by 0.80%, down to 442.52 Ugandan shillings. KCB Group as well lost a total of close to 0.66%, down to 1,127.76 Ugandan shillings. Kenya Airways also followed amongst the bottom losers at a 0.13% drop in price as well. Now, currently, when you look at the all-share index, which tracks the aggregate performance, of course, due to the poor performance, basically basing on the big stocks that did not get to participate, but also the big losses on the cross listings, the USE all-share index lost a total value of 6.85 points, making it one of the worst days this week for the index. Now, currently, this particular index has about 1,205.88 points, and this currently represents a weekly loss of 0.51%. And when you look at their 4-week loss, currently it's at exactly 1.14%, and an overall year-to-date loss of 0.55% as well on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, currently, when you look at the local company index, which is a tracker of the aggregate performance of basically the domestic stocks, the LCI increased in points, definitely due to New Vision Printing and Publishing Company's stock price going upwards, and this was to 274.10 points on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Currently, it looks like the Uganda Securities Exchange local company index is doing quite better. When you look at, for example, their weekly gain, currently it's at 0.53%, whereas the weekly loss of the all-share index is at 0.51%. So, generally speaking, the local companies or domestically listed stocks are performing much better on average here on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, in the year-to-date as well, we're seeing a gain of 0.52% on the local company index, which tracks the aggregate performance of mainly the domestic stocks here on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, just to take you back a little bit, the New Vision Printing and Publishing Company was the biggest gainer for the day and amongst the movers as well on the market. Now, the stock price of the company went up from 150 shillings to 155 Ugandan shillings at a 3.33% gain that was registered on the company. Currently, this company has about 11.9 billion Ugandan shillings floated on the exchange as market capitalization of their volume of close to 76.5 million shares that's currently on the market. Now, when you look at their listing, since the year 2004, the company has been trading on the Uganda Securities Exchange, meaning it's one of the earliest listings, at least for the listings, the domestic listings on the Uganda Stock Exchange, and the very first media house to get listed on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Now, yesterday's volume just had about 15,500 shillings turnover, of course, from the 100 shares that were traded, but this pushed their market price up by 5 shillings, 5 Ugandan shillings. Currently, in terms of trading, New Vision Printing and Publishing Company is in the 8th position in terms of the most traded on stocks in the last 3 months, with the company trading from the 1st of November to the 2nd of Feb, about close to 15,159 shares, valued at 2.35 million Ugandan shillings. That is New Vision Printing and Publishing Company for you. Well, last year we didn't have this company actually issue dividends, and definitely we hope this year we can get to see that as well realized, because many people would invest in such a company if at least there was a benefit of the dividend. It would be quite handy, because in terms of activity, nothing really much. You can see this appreciation in price of over just 5 shillings is the very first one since March last year. The company's stock price last changed March last year. This was from below 100 shillings, about 75 shillings, up to 150 shillings, and that's where we had the appreciation last. So we're not looking at a stock that is going to give you much of the capital gain. We are looking more at the dividend, which we hope the company will be able to issue this year as well. Now, on average, that's the trading we had, and the day had an 88% decline in volume, unfortunately, with a total volume of about 13,000 shares, and MTN being the biggest mover on the day at 12,900 shares that were recorded on the company. Now, currently, when you look at the stock prices here, nothing much really happened, except for a few gainers here and there, and the losers as well. So the turnover as well wasn't that big compared to the previous market day. Remember, to trade with the Uganda Securities Exchange is very simple. Simply get your phone, you can go to Google and type www.use.org. When you do that, you will visit the Uganda Securities Exchange website. Now, on visiting that website, you can be able to open an account, which is called the Securities Central Depository account. When you do that, you will be able to see a portal called Easy Portal, and then when you go to Easy Portal, you will be able to open using your email, national identification number, and passport photograph. The rest is history. Your account is opened at absolutely no cost, and you can start your daily trading from Monday to Friday, starting from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. East African Standard Time. Now let's go to Nairobi a little bit here and have a look at what the Nairobi markets looked like for the Thursday tradings. Now, there was a slight improvement in performance, generally speaking, on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. This is evident of their benchmark index, the all-share index, which inched up 0.02 points by 0.02% at exactly closing 127.66 points for the day. Now, there's a one-week gain currently on this index of 1.47%, and to close at exactly an overall year-to-date gain as well of 0.15%. Generally speaking, meaning we did have a very good day for the Kenyan market. However, the numbers, of course, show something quite contrary to that, with just 44 companies participating in trading. The day ended with 17 gainers and 17 losers, and the volume declined by 41%. So activity sank a little bit, but then we're seeing that more companies did appreciate in value, or actually the value that was gained outweighed the value that was lost in these particular companies. Now, Kenya Orchard surprisingly came on top with its first biggest gain for the year at a 9.49% share price appreciation, closing at 15.0 Kenyan shillings. Now, many of the Kenyan markets listings are looking at, for example, the growth enterprise market segment, where we have companies like Home Africa, like Kenya Orchards and the like. They look at a lot of volatility because these are small stocks with quite small prices, and so volatility is quite high. And when you look at Kenya Orchards, it is a Kenyan-based company engaged in the farming sector, and the company is primarily involved in the distribution of processed fruits and vegetables, as well as other food products. The company's stock value is currently at exactly about 193 million Kenyan shillings, at close to about 15.0 Kenyan shillings per share. Now, the company represents just a very small portion of the entire NSE market, not even 1% of the NSE market. Now, currently, when you look at their trading price at 15.0 shillings, they had a gain of 1.30 shillings on the day, and this was the biggest gain for the day, at a 9% gain there on the market. Kenya Orchards seems really had to have a very bright future on the Nairobi market, and looking at just their monthly performance, they have gained over 44% value on their month-over-month performance. And when you look at their year-to-date performance as well, they have gained 44.2%, which is the best on the Nairobi Securities Exchange as per the trading there. The downside is they have little activity on the market, with their stock currently standing in the 57th position amongst the most traded on stocks on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Kenya Orchards was also followed by TPS East African Serena, another growth and enterprise market listed company there on the exchange. Now, currently this company trades at 14.2 Kenyan shillings per share after a 1.2 Kenyan shillings price appreciation yesterday. Now, TPS East African Serena is listed on the exchange under the ticker symbol TPSE, and currently has 2.59 billion Kenyan shillings worth of market capitalization on the exchange. This represents about 0.13% of the entire NSE market of the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Currently, the company is the 44th most traded on stock in the last couple of months, 3 months to be specific, and these months have seen over 1.97 million Kenyan shillings turnover pass away on the TPS East African Serena as well. Now, Flame Tree Group Holdings followed East Africa TPS Serena at a 5% gain, and Jubilee Holdings, unlike on the Uganda market, gained 4.06% on the Nairobi market. On the losing side, Uchumi continued to perform poorly, with the stock coming at the bottom of the table with a 9.09% share price depreciation, and now closing at 0.2 Kenyan shillings per share. Unga Group as well lost 6.82%, and the Stanley Fahari Income Re-IT as well lost a 9.09% on their stock price. Now, the HF Group as well, or Home Africa, lost close to 2.9% as well on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Now, Safaricom continued to rally the Nairobi market with a 2.09 million share price share volume that was actually achieved on the fourth day, and KCB followed suit with over 800,000 shares as well on the market. Now, regarding the performance of the other indices, we do have the NSE20, which tracks the top 20 companies via market capitalization on the Nairobi market, and the NSE25 tracking the top 25 companies as well. The NSE20 added about 0.13% on its value, and the NSE25 added 0.06% as well. Away from the Uganda and the Nairobi market, let's get to look at, of course, what the trading looked like on the US. Remember, this is one of the biggest weeks on the US market, and we are looking at a very, very busy week ahead as well, as more companies come up with their fourth quarter earnings for 2022. Now, on Thursday, generally speaking, the US markets or the US stocks were mixed, highlighted by a vote of an upward vote by the tech stocks following the Federal Reserve's latest interest hikes that were, of course, announced by Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank. Now, of course, this comes at a time ahead of the big earnings from the tech industry as well, in the biggest players in the industry. Now, when you look at the Nasdaq Composite, the benchmark index for basically those tech stocks, it appreciated almost 3% by midday yesterday, and the S&P 500 added 1.3%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average lagged by 0.4%. Now, the yield on the 10-year Treasury note ticked downwards rather to 3.358% Thursday morning, and the dollar index increased 0.12% to 101.33 US dollars as well. The major US stock averages closed higher on Wednesday, remember, of course, following the Federal Reserve's highly anticipated rate hike to over 25 basis points, which represented another slowdown in the inflation fighting campaign by the Federal Reserve Bank. Now, Chairman Jerome Powell's upbeat comments on the state of the inflation moved the markets higher on Wednesday rather, and that continued through the Thursday trading. Now, today being the last day, we're of course looking at the S&P 500 and the big tech stocks there, as well as the Nasdaq, of course getting to summarize the week as we get into more earnings as well for the weekend and next Monday. And of course, we shall keep you up to date with what has transpired on those come Monday. Thank you so much for watching Smart24 TV. My name is Anthony. I wish you a very great weekend. Remember to check out Altex and use their Zabu initiative to invest in the East African Treasury bond market. Bye for now. See you next time.